gives me real pleasure at this time to talk about the Division of Hematology at University of Toronto, particularly at this momentous time when we are celebrating 10 years of academic and research day celebrations within our division. It is worth celebrating because we have an academic mission, and each time we gather together as a group of faculty and trainees to celebrate our achievements in research, education, quality and innovation and clinical care is a moment to really savor.
One was, well, we had a bit of a lull. There was quite a few years where nothing was really happening.
Like 2000 to 2008.
Yeah, and it was a very palpable lack of a place where not only our staff, but especially our trainees could really showcase their work. So I think people, it's a big place and nobody knows what everybody else is doing. And I really just not only emphasized how much amazing work is being done, but also really showcased our trainees. They got to see what other people were doing.
I guess I've had many mentors, but two that stand out are Maury Crookston, who was a blood banker at the Toronto General Hospital, who during my training got me interested in the field, arranged for me to go away to England for training, and she played a big part in really my whole life as such. And certainly since I've come back to St. Michael's, where I've been for 40 years, Dr. Garvey has been my prime mentor at U of T.
My mentors were basically Dr. John Crookston, the late Dr. John Crookston, the late Dr. Donald Cowan, and the late Dr. Bun McCullough. They were good teachers, they were good researchers, and they were just good people all around,
So Armand Keating was my supervisor when I was a transplant fellow, and that was a really valuable experience because he essentially let me look after the whole thing. So the transplant program was run by me and the transplant coordinator, and I had free rein to make decisions and ask for help when I wanted to. So I valued a needed independence at that time, and he definitely gave it to me.
So when I started my fellowship at Princess Margaret, Dr. Armand Keating, Dr. Mark Milden, and Dr. Hans Messner, these were the people who were my supervisors and became mentor. So the great mentor is not necessarily the mentor who's working in the sort of field you're working. Great mentor is the one who helps in forming your thinking, it puts you in the right direction.
Well, it's very interesting when I think back as to why I ended up in hematology. I can blame it on two individuals who were very important mentors to me. One of them is Dale Dotton, and it was Dale who challenged me when I was an intern at the Wellesley Hospital. And I think that he was so engaging that I was intrigued by hematology, because my prior experience as a clinical clerk was something I probably wasn't going to do. Michael Baker has been absolutely pivotal, I think, in as a mentor throughout my career. He likes to say that he's hired me 3 times, and that relationship has been ongoing.
So I really started my hematology training at age 20 because Armand Keating hired me as a summer student. So it's almost like I went through hematology training multiple times. So in my undergraduate years, I really learned a lot from mentors about professionalism, because back in the old days there were these amazing hematologists like Simon Sutcliffe and Jerry Scott, who were the perfectly dressed hematologists that had this incredible bedside manner. And then in my core clinical training years in hematology, I learned a lot about bedside medicine. I'd have to say David Sutton and Mike Crump were the ones that really taught me the bedside medicine.
This was 100 years ago, but it's very appropriate because it was Dr. Jerry Scott, actually, and I think he just had this combination of incredible bench-to-bedside teaching and just the right amount of irreverence that got me totally hooked.
My most sort of important and impactful mentor has to be Kevin Emery. He was actually my program director when I came on as a PGY4 in hematology. But I sort of emulated his career from early on, his focus in education and curriculum development. And I think he was instrumental in supporting me early on in the focus of education in my career path, as far as even during my fellowship. He was very supportive of me doing a Master's of Education, which was quite different at the time. But basically all throughout the rest of my career, I've just picked up his droppings.
I have to say that I have a number of mentors in hematology at U of T. First and foremost, I should acknowledge Dr. Ian Quirt for inspiring me to do hematology in the first place, because he really got me very excited with combining both the laboratory aspects of hematology with the clinical practice itself. And I have to be honest, I was really quite humbled and mesmerized by his bedside manner and by his patient relationships. It truly pushed me to this profession. Gina Piliotis is outstanding in terms of being a mentor, even though I've never formally called her one, so thank you, Gina. For sure, the program director position has opened a number of education opportunities for me, in addition to a lot of research opportunities, and she's been a gentle leader for me through all of it, which has been really quite inspiring. And I'd have to say Dr. Dale Doughton has been tremendous in terms of being as well a gentle mentor for me. He would probably never call himself a mentor, but I could not think of anyone who's been more collegial, who's been more compassionate, who's been more supportive in my journey here at St. Michael's Hospital.
I'm proud of our blood transfusion laboratory, having built it from really non-existence to a well-recognized and well-reputed blood transfusion laboratory in the hospital here.
I was on 5 research evaluation committees at the National Institute of Health. I chaired 3 of them. I was the first Canadian, non-American, ever to chair a major research committee at the National Institutes of Health. And I'm very proud of that.
I think there are 2 things I can say there. One is that I didn't discover, but I brought attention to a condition called Southeast Asian ovulocytosis, which I found in Papua New Guinea. People had known it was there before, but they didn't realize the significance of it. And I was able to show that it acted as a protection against malaria.
Collaborations through our clinical trials group. So I've been the principal investigator of 2 very large randomized trials in transplantation. Both of them were actually negative, in a sense anyway. But the most important part of that was actually learning what it's like to try to get people to work together and agree on a common goal and see all of that come to fruition. I think that was a very satisfying. Even negative trials are learning experiences and important.
I have to say the work in Ethiopia, for sure. So we've been able to develop in the midst of other programs, but we have a hematology training program that we collaborate with Addis Ababa University in Ethiopia. So we started our first, they call them fellows, as a PGY4 equivalent in 2012. So we've now had several classes graduated, and we've doubled the number of hematologists in the country to 5.
Hematology and science are very tied together, and I'm proud that hematology has been able to extrapolate scientific findings into tests and treatments that benefit patients, I think, better than any other discipline within medicine.
We had a very simple idea, and we tried to simplify how to do transplant in aplastic anemia. And we envisioned that if you can come up with a protocol which is minimally toxic, leads to good engraftment, and has no GVHD, this could be a win-win situation for patients with aplastic anemia, because there is no graft versus leukemia effect required. So we envisioned this protocol in London, we implemented it in London, and subsequently when I joined it as a faculty member in leukemia BMT at Princess Margaret, we implemented it here. And if I look back at my career, I personally think this was one of my major contribution in this area.
Things that I'm probably most proud about is the work that we've done on improving appropriate utilization of blood. We've been able to reduce blood use across all of our sites by at least 1/3 right across the board. You're talking about $6 million worth of red cells per year. We've been able to publish on in multiple different studies on appropriate use. And then the other thing I'm really proud of is we've done a whole bunch of clinical trials to do with transfusion medicine. We participated in the Age of Blood study, the ABLE study. We participated in the PROPER study for massive transfusion, and we participated in the ROC, the trauma trial to do with TXA and brain injury patients. Right now we're doing a really great trial called Taco Bell, looking at Lasix before transfusion.
Systematic, logical way that we approached an evidence-based strategy for autologous hematopoietic cell transplantation. I think that was really very satisfying. And of course, one of the really important things there is that it involved a whole host of individuals. There was a team that was ongoing. And that was one of the pleasures, really exciting.
The research achievement that I'm most proud of is really the area of newborn screening for sickle cell disease and how it influences outcomes. I was one of the people instrumental in developing Canada's first newborn screening program for sickle cell disease, a system that has now been adopted by a number of provinces. We're looking forward to the day when every child born with sickle cell disease, irrespective of where they live in Canada, will be detected very early, because early interventions make a major difference in reducing morbidity and mortality.
Find a mentor. I think one mentor can't satisfy all one's needs or aspirations and so on, but that's probably the single most important thing that someone can do.
The most important advice is find the right mentor or find the right number of mentors. Learn to ask a simple question, a question in a simple way, and try to answer it in a systematic fashion. Be persistent, stay focused, but be flexible to the new opportunities which come your way.
Be curious and be open-minded.
Get out there and show that you can do something.
To just pick an area that you really like and concentrate on it and go for it, you know.
And the other thing that I would say is focus, focus, focus. Young doctors going out tend to sometimes want visibility, so they do a little of this, a little of that, a little of something else. But that's very short-lived. And the truth is, pick a single sort of thing and work at it.
Start small. Do a really small research project, get that under your belt, and then sort of build on that. Use kind of what I call the McMaster way of doing things. Build small and slowly answer different questions. Just don't tell them I said the McMaster is where I learned something.
They should be persistent. I know it sort of sounds cliche, maybe a little corny, but if that's what you want, it will happen.
Thank you, Dr. Garvey. You're the only person who told me like it is. So be prepared to be encouraged and helped, and to be criticized and helped.
First of all, make sure that you know where your passions lie. So really be true to yourself as to what is it you want to get out of your academic careers.
Well, I mean, people always say, what are your hobbies? And I'm always tempted to say skydiving. Yeah.
Travel. I travel a lot. I enjoy that. I read a lot.
I used to play the piano very well. In fact, I had to decide at one point on music versus medicine. Yeah, because I had the offer of a scholarship in music. So I used to play very well, but I'm quite rusty now. Okay. And now that I'm winding down my practice, I hope to start playing the piano more.
In my retirement goals, what I want to do is both become a musician and learn to be an expert at archery.
I have a very eclectic collection of colorful socks from different parts of the world.
I'm terrified of public speaking. I'm actually terrified right now. So the faster this ends, the better. Just kidding.
I'm a crazy dog lady. Everybody knows that about me. No, forget. Okay, so I'm a crazy dog lady. I have dogs, and I'm a bit crazy about them. So maybe that's what people don't know about me. So
I write poetry. That's not something many hematologists would say, but
I mean, I have a reputation of being harsh and strict and demanding. And what people, I think, don't actually really know is underneath it all, well hidden, is a little bit of softness. And I would certainly like to say to the residents, you know, that you're training, I mean, there's no reason to be fearful of me. In 40 years of teaching residents, there is not a wrong answer I haven't heard already. So you can't shock me.
It is an honor and privilege to be working here.
So it's a great pleasure to celebrate the 10th anniversary. And I realize that we are celebrating it in a big way with a high number of abstracts being presented, very high quality talks, and we'll be recognizing people who have achieved great things within our division over the last year. So happy 10th anniversary.
and I'm going to have to stress my memory here. If your red cell knowledge still is cold, this poem may make it hotter. The red cell is a placid blob filled with protein and water. The protein is quite simple. It's made of globin and heme. But if your iron stores are gone, making heme is just a dream. Meat and veggies are rich in iron. Gastric acid lets iron get in, but a diet of milk or tea and toast will lower your ferritin. Every poem should have its pearl. Here's one that is worth heeding. Until you've proven otherwise, a lack of iron equals bleeding. That poem can also be sung to the tune of Elvis Presley's Love Me Tender, but only when I've had a lot of wine.